So let's say that Leo falls in the first house of your chart, or that you see that symbol for Leo in the house numbered 1. If this is the case, then this Mercury retrograde for you, it's going to be about rethinking yourself, your sense of identity and who you are. Maybe you thought you knew who you are, maybe you felt like you really knew what your personality is, or you knew what you have to offer to the world. This Mercury retrograde may be a time to really think that. Do you really know who you are? Perhaps you have a hidden gift, or you have a hidden talent that is wanting to be explored. Perhaps the way that you fit into this world is different than what you actually realize. For example, maybe you're an accountant and you define yourself as an accountant, and that's what you think your role is in the world. Maybe during this Mercury retrograde, you might remember a passion that you had in your childhood for theater or for acting, because Leo energy is about our childhoods as well. Maybe you start to realize, wow, I've been defining myself as an accountant for a really long time because this is what I studied in college and this is what my parents wanted me to be. But actually, the core essence of who I have been since I was a little kid, because first house is about our very, very early childhood, like right when we were born. Maybe the core essence of who you have been is that you've actually always been this person who wanted to be an actor, and maybe during this Mercury retrograde you start to think of yourself in that way. And what we believe about ourselves and what we think about ourselves ultimately plays a big role in what we actually go on to achieve in our lives. This is a time for you to rethink your personality. Are you being loving? Are you being generous to others? Are you proud of the person that you have become and the person that you are? And if you're not feeling so proud of the person that you are, then this is a time to make changes and to begin to show up from the heart, and to begin to let your heart guide you in terms of the way that you present yourself to the world. And our first house can also be about our physical body, our physique, and our health. And so if this is happening in your first house, maybe this is a time to think about your exercise and your nutrition, or even your sort of fashion and the way that you're presenting yourself to the world. I mean, for some people, perhaps this could even be a time where you decide to actually present yourself in a totally different way. It could be a time where you actually decide, you know what, I don't think that I want to go by Joseph anymore. I think from now on I'd like to call myself Joe, for example, or whatever your name is. Like, this could actually be a time to go and revise like your social media or your LinkedIn or stuff like that, and kind of rebrand yourself to really show your gifts and talents to the world. If this Mercury retrograde is falling in your second house, then this is a time to think about how much pride you're taking in your work, in your day-to-day work. And this is a time to ask yourself how confident you feel about your finances and your money, and particularly the money that you are earning from your job, as well as a time of thinking about your possessions, because second house is about what we do to earn our money, and it's about what we value, our worth, and our money. And so for some people, this could be a time of realizing your true worth. You want to think about your value as an individual, as well as the things that you value, the things that you can hold in your hands. So you may find, for example, if you have this Mercury retrograde occurring in the second house, you may find yourself thinking again about something that you would really like to acquire. Maybe you had a dream of getting a brand new computer or a new camera or even a new home, or really anything, but something that you really wanted to work towards, and you really wanted to earn money and save money to get that particular thing. And maybe after a while you said, you know what, this is really hard. Like, I don't actually want to work so hard to earn that vacation to Aruba or whatever else it is, right? You know, maybe I'll just give up and settle the life that I have. Well, this Mercury retrograde might bring back that dream, and you might be thinking, no, actually, I really do want to work hard. I really want to work hard, and I really want to earn this experience, or I really want to earn this object that I really value. And if that happens to you, I would definitely say, get back at it. You know, if this Mercury retrograde is occurring in your second house, it's bringing power to your finances, but be very open to rethinking your financial management and even your work, the actual work that you're doing to earn money. Maybe a while ago you were thinking about supplementing your income by being an entrepreneur or adding your own business venture on the side. This would be a time to rethink that again. If you did that, is it still working? Is it really giving you the money that you hoped for or the return on your investment that you hoped for? If it's not, this might be a time to actually close it down. If you never tried that business, or you never went for that promotion, or you never applied for that job that you really wanted, this could be a time to actually do so. This could be a time where you feel more called to actually earn money in a way that feeds your heart or that fulfills your heart. Maybe you're in a job that does pay you pretty well, but maybe you hate that job and it just drains your heart and soul every single day, and you don't want to do it anymore. Well, this could be a time of thinking about, how can I actually find work that does fulfill my heart? And this could be a time where you actually find that work. This could also be a time where you maybe decide, you know what, I am going to read that book on financial management, or I am going to read that book on investments. I would highly recommend that during this time, because it could be a time where you actually learn a lot about finances, and maybe you make just a little change. Maybe it's just putting a little bit more money in savings every single month or something like that, but it could really actually add up over time. If this Mercury retrograde is occurring in your third house, then this is going to be a really fulfilling time, because the third house is actually the house that is ruled by Mercury in our chart. So what this means is that you're going to be having a time of rethinking and relearning some fundamental facts. For example, this could be a time where you actually remember some of the things that you learned in elementary school, because our third house is about our early education. So it could be a time where you are just filled with these thoughts of your childhood and your upbringing and your siblings. So if this Mercury retrograde is falling in your third house, this would definitely be a time to reconnect with your siblings if you have any. Let's say that you haven't got together for a while. This could be an amazing time to get together with siblings and go on a little road trip that's back to somewhere that was near your childhood home, and to go and to reminisce. This could also be a really good time to revisit and sort of clean out any old files that you happen to have on your computer, to go through kind of like old photos, to go through old documents, to go through old books. Maybe it's time to reread an old book that you really liked, or maybe it's time to actually donate that book and give it to charity or pass it on to someone else. And since third house is actually the house of communication itself, this can be a time to make those important communications, or even just friendly communications that you have been wanting to express for a while, but that you haven't had a chance to. So this could be a time to write that letter or make that call. Maybe you've really been wanting to call one of your grandparents or something, but you just never get around to it. Now's the time to definitely do so. Now's the time to definitely get back in touch with those childhood friends that you had. Maybe your best friend from when you were a little kid. Maybe you want to reconnect on social media or something like that. now is the time if this Mercury retrograde is falling in your third house. And this is a time in general to think about your mind and think about what you know, because third house is about our mind and how we learn. And maybe there's something that you've really been wanting to learn or you've been wanting to study, but you haven't gotten around to it. You know, especially something that has a lot of practical value in the day-to-day. Like maybe you've been wanting to learn how to change your own oil or something like that. You know, something that you can use every day and you just haven't had a chance. Like now's the time. This could also be a time to go to networking events in your local community. Maybe you don't usually go to the particular conference or the particular meetup or particular book group or whatever it so happens to be. Now would be a time to actually go. It'll serve you very, very well. The fourth house. Okay, so if this Mercury retrograde is falling in your fourth house, this is a time for you of rethinking what is going on at home and reflecting on what is going on in your home and how this relates to your childhood. So on one hand, this could be a time for actually sprucing up the home, for bringing in things that are beautiful and making your home more of a creative sort of space. This could be a time for maybe even going back and visiting your childhood home. Maybe you've been thinking, oh, I don't really know, it's not really going so well for me living on my own. Maybe it's time to actually move back in with family. This could be a time where that actually is in the highest and best good. It could be a time where you actually go to your home that you were raised in or to your parents and spend some time with them and learn more about your family lineage, learn more about talents or gifts that your family has actually had. This could be a time for revisiting family traditions. Maybe your family always goes camping for Labor Day and maybe you haven't participated in a couple of years because you've been really busy. Well, maybe this is the year to actually go and actually participate in those family traditions. Since Leo is about heart and the fourth house is about our early childhood, this could be a time where you find yourself feeling more for your family. Like you might feel more love for your family, and you might have like childhood memories that are coming up for you, and you might rethink, you know, how creative you were as a child, or how talented you were as a child, or how sensitive that you happen to be as a child, and you might be rethinking some of your achievements. I often think that the fourth house can also relate to the roots of our mind and our early experience, like our formation, our imprinting, how our early childhood impacted our psychology as an adult. This could be a time where you rethink some of that. You definitely want to look at your childhood. What happened? Were you able to express your talents? Were you able to be as creative as you wanted to? Were you confident in yourself as a child? If not, why not? Could you have been more confident? What were your childhood dreams? You know, what did you dream of doing as a child? Can you bring it back? Like, can you actually bring back that dream in some way now? And if you can, this might be the time to do it. And maybe you don't bring it back in the exact same way that you had dreamed it at the time, but maybe you bring it back in a new way that serves your heart at this time. Maybe when you were a little kid, maybe you wanted to be a famous football player, but maybe you never really got a chance to do that. That might not be realistic anymore, but maybe you can join an intramural football team, or you can go to a football game during this time or whatever. But rethink your childhood dreams and see if you can revisit them during this time in a way that really feeds your heart. This can also be a time to connect with family members and communicate with family members that you might have been estranged from for a while. There's a lot of debate as to whether the fourth house is related to the father or the mother, but I would say this could be a time for communicating with the parents. I mean, 4th house is ruled by Cancer, so I would say it probably has to do with the mother, that this could be a time for communicating with parents, for communicating with grandparents, and for studying your family roots, for studying your genealogy, for really learning about where you actually came from. A lot of us think that we know. I know that's the case for me. Like, I sort of thought, okay, I know what my family is all about. But recently, I have discovered some things that were a little bit more hidden. A lot of us have family members that are just not really talked about, you know, that are kind of just swept under the rug, or certain parts of our family history are not really shared or talked about that often. This could be a time to do some research and to really figure out who you really are and where you came from. And this could be a time for, you know, just in general, just rethinking your home. Maybe you're paying really high rent to live in a beautiful apartment, but maybe you actually want to go off the grid, and maybe you want to live like a nomadic lifestyle. Maybe you want to do something totally different with your housing. Now would be the time to think about that. It's not necessarily the time to make the change, but now would be the time to really think about and revisit those ideas. You know, maybe you live in Kansas and you are just not satisfied with Kansas anymore, and you really have always wanted to move to the coast of Oregon. Now's the time to think about that again. Could you really make that happen? Maybe you could, and maybe now's the time to make a plan. If this Mercury retrograde is falling in your 5th house, congratulations. That is the house that is ruled traditionally by Leo. So if this is the case for you, then it means that you have an amazing chart. This is going to be a time for you to think about what you really, really, really enjoy and what you really used to enjoy. When you were younger or a couple years ago, maybe you always used to go cycling and you just loved cycling, and there were so many, you know, trails that you really, really enjoyed, and somehow over time you just forgot that you really liked it, or you just stopped doing it, or you didn't make time for it. Well, this Mercury retrograde is the time to go back and do those things that you really, really enjoyed, because the 5th house is the house of recreation, and it's the house of fun, and it's the house of childhood. And so I think this could be a really great Mercury retrograde for you, because the 5th house rules recreation. This could be a really fun time to think about, like, what are the most fun times like I've ever had, you know, and where did I have that fun, and can I go back? You know, maybe this is a time where you get together with some friends and you actually go to an amusement park that you haven't been to for a really long time, and you just sort of reminisce and you relive that experience. This is also a time to really ask yourself, am I having enough fun? Like, am I having enough fun? Am I feeding my heart? Is my heart satisfied? Am I spending enough time on my hobbies and my sports that I really like? And if not, how can you spend more time doing those things? Because we all need to have fun, you know? I think that the Western culture, it can really prioritize work and working hard and making money, but that is not all of what life is about. Life is also about laughing and enjoying ourselves and being creative, and that's what the 5th house is about. So you want to think about how you can have more fun and bring some of that fun back into your life. The 5th house can also be about dating for fun. It can be about dating for fun. So maybe a little while ago, maybe you connected with somebody on Tinder, for example, okay? And maybe you kind of hit it off, but you just lost contact, you know, and that person kind of drifted away. This could be a time where they come back, where you go on another date, because the 5th house is about dating for fun. This could be a time where you decide to go to some sort of matchmaking event, or you sort of take that risk and you reach out to somebody that you've been wanting to connect with, or you've been wanting to reconnect with for a while. Keep it light, keep it fun, I think this could be really good. Maybe this is a time for you to reconnect with someone that you dated a while ago, or maybe it's somebody that you dated when you were a kid, like in middle school or something like that, and you haven't connected for a while, but maybe that person is single now, and you're just like, yeah, like let's just go have a picnic, or let's just go out boating, or let's meet up and let's go for a jog or whatever. I don't know, but just keep the date fun, keep it light, go to the theater, do something that, go to like the carnival or something like that. That's going to be really, really enjoyable. Finally, the 5th house is also about children and our relationship with children. So if you have a child, this could be a time where you're really thinking about, is my child really having fun? Is my child creative? Are they able to express their creativity? Should I enroll my child in sports? Are they doing too many sports, where the enjoyment has been lost? Should I take them out of some of that? This would be a time to really nurture your relationship with your child or any other important children in your life, and to spend time with them. So not everybody has a child, but maybe you have a niece or nephew, or a little brother or a little sister, or maybe you participate in like a big brother, big sister program or something like that, and you have somebody that you mentor, a small person. Like, okay, well then this would be the time to actually spend time with them and rethink how your relationship is going. If this Mercury retrograde falls in your 6th house, this could be a little bit of a serious time. This could be a time where you are rethinking the pride that you take in your work, because 6th house is about our work, it's about our daily routine, it's about our nutrition, and it's also about our small pets, okay? So that's part of it. But basically, if this is the case, you want to think about, how is your work life going? Particularly, in what way are you being of service to others? In what way are you serving others? And are you taking pride in your work? Are you overworking? Are you underworking? How is your day-to-day routine going? And is your day-to-day routine in alignment with your heart? Do you love your life, basically? Do you love your day-to-day life? And if not, now's the time to rethink how it's going, because 6th house is very much about, when do we wake up? What time do we go to work? How long are we working? What are we eating? How much are we exercising? And in this case, it would be about creating a day-to-day life that you can really take pride in, and that you really enjoy, and that makes you feel like your best self. So maybe it's a time to actually start incorporating that morning yoga practice, or to actually, decide, what, I really am going to start making the most of my lunch break, and I'm going to start going to the gym during my lunch break and just eating lunch at my desk afterwards, or something like that. It could literally be anything, but this would be a time to rethink how you're using your time. Maybe every single night you're spending 3 or 4 hours watching YouTube, right? And you kind of feel like it's wasted time. Maybe this is the time to think, no, like I'm actually going to use that time to read books, or to call my family, or nurture my connection with my best friend, or to actually do meal prep so that I have healthy breakfast and healthy lunch for the next day. This is a time for being more creative about how you're actually using and scheduling your day-to-day life. I would say if you have this placement, it's definitely a time to write out where your time is actually going, do the things that you love, and to make a routine that you can really feel proud of. Now, the 6th house is also about our employment. So this could be a time where you actually finish up a work or a service or a volunteer project that you haven't visited in a while, particularly if it was service to kids or small animals. So let's say, for example, that you're a volunteer at the Humane Society, but you haven't actually been to the Humane Society for a while, or you haven't stopped by. I know that is kind of the case for me, okay? So anyway, so maybe this is a time where you actually want to to go into the Humane Society and you want to volunteer to help the kittens or the puppies or the small animals, it's not the time to go back and volunteer with the elephants or the big animals, but it's the time to go back and volunteer with the small animals. And yes, 6th house is so much about health and diet and illness, okay? So this could be a time where kind of old thoughts about your body and your wellness come up again. Like maybe you really know that in the long term it's in your best interest to try a vegetarian or a vegan diet or eat more fruits and vegetables or whatever the case may be, but you just haven't gotten around to it. Now's the time to do that research, to watch those videos or learn what you need to know to be able to make that dietary change, and then to prepare to make that change in early September, or even to try it again now. If you used to do something that was really healthy and it really worked for you, but you kind of fell off the wagon a little bit, now's the time to actually get back on. And this could be a time where health issues flare up for you. If that happens to you, know that it's not a terrible thing, but it's the universe's way of helping you to see, okay, actually, I do need to address this issue. I do need to address this issue. It hasn't gone away. It hasn't disappeared. It's back. Now's the time to put the focus back on my health again and to take pride in the healthy body that I have. This could be a time where you want to get more creative in the kitchen as well. Maybe, what would really inspire you is to start, actually making your plates of food really beautiful and really colorful, and taking photographs of those to share on social media or something like that, or starting your YouTube channel related to health or whatever it is. If this Mercury retrograde is happening in your 7th house, now is the time to revisit the close partnerships in your life. This could be a time for thinking about your marriage if you are married. And even if you're not married, this could be a time for thinking about, how fulfilled am I as a single person? Is there a close somebody that I really want to bring into my life? Because, all of us are amazingly gifted, and there's a lot that we can accomplish on our own. And there's a lot of ways that we can express our creativity and have fun by ourselves. But at the end of the day, we are here incarnated on this planet with other people for a reason. And if this is happening in your 7th house, then this is a time to rethink, who are those close people? Who is your partner in life? Who is your partner in life? And whether that's your best friend, or it's a business partner, or it's your spouse, or all of the above, now is the time to think about those important relationships and ask yourself how they are feeding your heart and how they are feeding the heart of the other person involved. Now, Leo is about generosity. So this is a time to think, am I being generous with my partner? Are we having fun together? Are we being creative together? I think that this could be a wonderful time for like a married couple or any sort of, couple in a relationship to actually, spend time together, like playing games, or spend time together enjoying each other's company and being very childlike, because Leo loves to be childlike. And I know that my husband and I, we really enjoy being childlike sometimes, and just like chasing each other around and just telling jokes and just being really silly and really playful. And we love doing childlike things together too, like going to the zoo or, funny movies or stuff like that. I mean, and it really helps our relationship, and it helps us just create like really wonderful memories. So if you're having your Mercury retrograde and it's falling in the 7th house, slow down a little bit. Now's the time to be generous with your time, and to be very loving to your partner and kind to your partner, whoever that so happens to be. And now could be a time of pursuing something that is of creative interest to both of you. Maybe you've always wanted to go together on a date to one of those painting workshops or something like that, but you've never done it. Or you've always wanted to take an improv class together, but you've never done it. Now would be the time to do it. Maybe you've always wanted to have a child, but you've never done it, you know, and now could be the time to rethink, you know what? Maybe we do want children after all. Maybe we do want to adopt, or, you know, somehow we want to bring more children into our lives. Maybe we want to foster a child. Now, 7th house is also about our legal contracts. And so if you have Mercury retrograde in the 7th house, it is a time to revisit your legal contracts, okay? So this could be a time to look back at like your will or something like that. Is it still how you want it to be? To look back at just any sort of legal contracts, legal documents, revisit them, you know, do you know what you signed up for? I think re-looking again at even like health insurance. Do you have your legal documents together? Do you need to update something? Just take a look at all of that and just make sure that everything is fair and balanced. If you are in business with someone, or you are married to someone, or in whatever way you are sharing things, are you sharing in a fair and balanced way? And to revisit your skills with compromise. If your Mercury retrograde is falling in the 7th house, you need to focus on fairness. Do not let your ego get the best of you. Now is the time to focus on balance between the two of you, on harmony, and on coming to a fair and equitable conclusion. If this Mercury retrograde is falling in your 8th house, that sounds very exciting to me, okay? The 8th house is really an active house filled with a lot of different things. The 8th house includes things like the occult, like spirituality. It includes things like soulmates. It includes things like sexuality, especially sacred sexuality. It includes magic, and it includes all sorts of merging with other people, including shared money of all kinds, like loans and taxes and inheritance and all these kinds of things. So this could be a very interesting Mercury retrograde for you. I think there are many ways that this could turn out. One of the things that I think of right away is that this could be a time for reconnecting with soul connections, with genuine soulmates, with the twin flame, etc., where somebody that you're just very, very spiritually connected and mystically connected to, like, actually comes back into your life, and where you're able to hopefully share a heart-centered connection with them. Because remember that the high side, the shadow side of Leo is just pride and ego, but the high side of Leo is heart and generosity and creative expression. This could actually be a time for you where you actually go back and you revisit and you re-study some sort of mystical text of some kind. Like maybe you have a book on your bookshelf that is about magic or something very magical or mystical. And maybe you read a couple pages a while ago and you thought, wow, this is really intense. I'm not ready for this right now. Well, maybe you're ready for it now. Maybe you're actually ready to study these things now. Maybe you accidentally didn't pay your taxes this year. Well, maybe this is the time where you get that letter in the mail that actually says, hey, listen, your taxes are not paid and you need to pay them now plus interest or whatever. If that happens, pay your taxes. Like, if that happens, pay your taxes. If that happens, maybe ask somebody that you know who's really wealthy to help you. This is a time where I think if you have debts, some of the debts could come due. Maybe somebody loaned you a bunch of money and they haven't said anything about it for a while. Maybe now's the time to start repaying them. On the flip side, maybe you are the one who has been loaning money to someone else, or who has been financially assisting someone else, and maybe now's the time to actually remind that person that maybe they owe you money, and now's the time where maybe you want to actually rethink that arrangement. You know, in whatever way that you are sharing money, with others, now is a time to rethink whether that arrangement is really supportive to you and whether it feels right to you in your heart, okay? So now is definitely a time for rethinking that. Maybe it's no longer supportive anymore. Now would be a time as well to look at debts and look at loans and look at inheritance and all these kinds of things, and revisit, the terms, and just really reflect on whether or not you are in balance with the way that you're sharing your money. I mean, for some people, it could come that they're being way too prideful and they're really holding on to their money way too much with this case, and that it's time to rethink. Maybe you're holding on to a whole bunch of money and there's somebody really close to you who's really in need and really only needs a little bit of money, and maybe that it would be a time to be generous and to actually give of your money. Or maybe you're in a really poor financial situation where somebody is taking enormous advantage of you, and maybe now's the time to break that tie. Okay, so it could vary kind of based on what your life circumstance is, but I would definitely say that this is a time to explore the occult for sure, and to think about the occult. And I mean, when I say occult, it's really hard to, I think, fully express all that the 8th house is, but occult basically means anything that is hidden or anything that is below the surface, like hidden knowledge. And so this would be a time to study those things, to learn those sorts of things. You wanted to learn the tarot, or you wanted to learn how to use the pendulum, or you really wanted to actually get a psychic reading from somebody, but you never have. If this is happening, if this Mercury retrograde is happening in your 8th house, now's maybe the time to get the reading, or now's the time to learn how to do readings, learn how to use the pendulum. Now's the time to get hypnotized in order to establish a connection with your subconscious mind. This could be a time where the most important communications are actually coming from within you, from your own subconscious. So this could be a time to track your dreams. This could be just a time to be very mindful of what comes up from within you, what intuitive understandings that you are getting. This could be a time of a return of your own magic powers. So congratulations. The 9th house. If this Mercury retrograde is falling in your 9th house, now is a time to rethink what is true for you. The 9th house is our quest. The 9th house is our journey. It's our quest for meaning. It's our quest for truth. It's our international travel. This could be a time where you actually find yourself feeling really nostalgic for some far and distant place. Maybe it's a place that you have been before, that you really, in your heart, you really want to go back to. Or maybe it's a place that you haven't never been, but that was significant in a past life maybe. Or just is some place that you really feel connected to in your heart. Now's the time where you're going to feel yourself drawn back to that place. Maybe now is a time to actually go back if you can, if you're able to do that. Now would be a time where you might actually plan that international foreign travel. Okay, so maybe you've been thinking, I really want to go to Paris, that's the home of my heart, or any other place. And maybe you've been writing it off and thinking it's not possible. Maybe during this Mercury retrograde, you rethink and you sort of tabulate a little bit. Maybe you reach out and you actually apply to study at a university abroad, or to teach abroad, because the 9th house is about teaching and higher learning. Or to go to some sort of monastery or ashram or something like that that's abroad, and you actually fill out the application during this time, and maybe you actually get to go back, or you actually, this is just a time to really think about those things. Think about your international experiences and how they feed you spiritually. Maybe you are super interested in visiting some historic spiritual site that's in a far and distant land, okay? Maybe it's a particular church that's been around for thousands of years, or maybe it's an ancient forest in Ireland, a magical forest, or wherever. But this could be a time where you find yourself wanting to study foreign religions or wanting to visit places of spiritual significance that are abroad. And I would definitely encourage you to do so and just be a sponge, because the ninth house is such a beautiful house. I really think so. I have a nice ninth house in my chart, I guess, but I just think that it's just so important for us as humans to indulge in this quest that we have to find the truth. You know, I think all of us are compelled to try to figure out what's the truth, what's the higher meaning of life. And this is a time for you to let yourself think about the higher matters. This could also be a time for you to where you really find meaning for your existence. Maybe you've just been plodding along a little bit. You know, I think that happens to all of us sometimes. And you haven't really understood the meaning of your life. This could be a time where you get back in touch with that meaning, and all of a sudden you remember why you're actually here. And I think that going on that quest is really meaningful at this time. This could also be a time where you reconnect with a university, because the ninth house is about higher education. So for some people, this could be a time of going back to school. Maybe you already have a degree, but you need some sort of continuing education to be able to teach in the field that you're in, or something like that. This could be a time where you decide that you actually are going to re-enroll in college, or you're going to go back to get that PhD, or you're going to somehow go in a deeper form of study. Maybe you actually enroll in some sort of program to learn a higher wisdom, to learn a spiritual wisdom. That could be something that takes place during this time. It could be a time where you revisit as well, where you revisit religion. Maybe you're rethinking whether your religion is really serving you at this time. You know, does your religion and your religious practice still feel aligned with your heart? Are you proud of your particular religion? Are you interested or drawn to another religion? Maybe you were raised Catholic, for example, but you've always been so curious about Buddhism. You've just always been so curious, but you've never really studied it. Maybe now's the time where you actually study Buddhism and you learn about it, and you ask yourself, does this feel true? Does this feel right in my heart? This is just a wonderful time for looking back and rethinking what is true, what is sacred, and just revisiting and looking back on some profound philosophies or schools of higher thought in order to serve your soul. If this Mercury retrograde is falling in the 10th house of your chart, this is a time to rethink your career and the direction that you are headed. This is a time to rethink about your strategic plan. Who are you trying to be in this world? What legacy are you trying to leave in this world? In what way do you want your name to be affiliated with prestige or with success? And now's the time to look back on where you're at along that sort of plan. The 10th house is the house of career. So this is a time to rethink, how's your career going? Maybe you recently took a new job, right? Maybe you took a new job. Is this job really feeding your heart? Does this job feel right to you? Or is it time to rethink? Maybe ask that to go back to an old job that you were at that felt more in alignment with you. Or maybe this is the time to go for the promotion. This is definitely a time to think strategically about your career and what sort of name you're trying to make for yourself in the world. If you are not working or you're not employed in a career, now's the time to go back and think about how you're going to rise up, or what sort of work that you need to put in order to reach success. This could be a time where you actually decide that you want to go to some sort of like corporate training event, or that you actually want to reconnect with some sort of high-powered person in your chosen career path and see and study how that person actually was going to succeed. This could be a time where you actually rethink your profession. Maybe you've always had this feeling that you really could succeed if you just put yourself in a little bit of a different arena. Now might be a time to learn about that other arena and to study it a little bit. And maybe this fall you want to actually prepare to transition. I mean, the 10th house is the house of fame, and it's the house of legacy, and it's the house of our public standing, where we stand in society. And I think you've got to ask yourself, with Mercury retrograde in the 10th house, are you proud of where you stand? Are you proud of your legacy? Are you proud of your name and what people think of you, when they see your name, of what you have achieved? Are you proud of the way that you're using your talents in this world and the status that you've earned for yourself? And if not, this is a time to think about how you're going about earning that status in the world and your sort of upward trajectory with your work, and what sort of changes you can make to have a reputation in this world or a place in society that you can be really proud of. The 10th house can also be about politics, okay? So let's say that you are pretty successful, okay? If you have Leo ruling your 10th house, then you probably are pretty successful in your chosen field. But let's say that in the past you have let your ego get the best of you. You let your pride get the best of you at some point. Well, that could come back to haunt you now, in which case I would recommend that you remedy that by being very generous and very loving with anybody who you might have offended in the past. But old sort of political issues could come up during this time, and that's a good thing if that's happening. I mean, it's showing you like what is standing in your way and what might need to be addressed so that you can make it up to the next level. The 10th house is also about corporations and sort of corporate life. So you might think about making strategic corporate alliances during this time, or it just may be a time of thinking, where do you stand within this corporation, or is there a particular corporation that you would like to align yourself with, or that you would like to become a part of? If this Mercury retrograde is falling in your 11th house, then we should be friends, because this Mercury retrograde is falling in my 11th house as well. And I don't know about you all, but I started feeling this Mercury retrograde several weeks ago. And after a year of not being on Facebook or social media, I started to feel myself being pulled back a little bit. I started to feel myself wanting to connect a little bit more socially with others and reconnect with, friends and with people who are aligned with my dreams. And that's what the 11th house is about. The 11th house is about groups. It's about those people that can help us achieve our dreams, or people who share in our dreams. It is also about like organizations and societies. And I think that social networks, social media networks could fit into the 11th house depending on how you actually use them. But the 11th house is really about our hopes and our wishes, and the people who help bring those hopes and wishes into fruition in the material world. So if Mercury retrograde is falling in your 11th house, you might find yourself really feeling like you want to reach out to old friends, or that you really want to communicate with friends from your past or people that you have lost touch with. And even if you don't necessarily want to reconnect with them, you may find them coming back to you. That has been my experience, even though Mercury retrograde at this moment isn't fully retrograde. Like, I've already had people coming back and just being like, oh, let's like reconnect, I really miss you, and stuff like that. So that could be happening to you. And if this is the house of your Mercury retrograde, that's what's meant to happen. This is a time for rethinking, who do I have in my life, and are the people that I have in my life aligned with my dream? Are we all on the same path? Are we all fighting for the same cause, if you will? Are we all sharing in the same dream? And it might be a time where, you know, certain associates or certain friends actually kind of fall away, or they move out of your life and they're replaced with others who are more aligned with where you're at this particular time, you know, with what you're hoping to achieve at this particular time. It's also the house of our dreams for society. So this is a time to remind yourself what you're really working for. What is your life all about? What are you actually trying to bring to the planet? What is your bigger dream? My dream for this planet is a planet where everyone is awake, right? Where every single person is awake and aware and conscious of who they're connecting with, and that they're connecting from a place that is in alignment with the true nature of their soul, right? And so that's my sort of 11th house dream, to help bring that into fruition. But I think you have to ask yourself, what is your 11th house dream? What are you hoping for? What are your greatest wishes for your life? Revisit those things and really put them out there. Like, put them out there into the universe, because if your creative desire for your life is aligned with the highest good and is aligned with what humanity needs at this time, then you're going to be fully supported from the universe in actually pursuing that dream. So you want to think about, what is the dream of your heart? Where is your heart compelling you? If you could have your heart desire not just for your own self, but your heart's desire for all of humanity, what would that look like? You know, what would that actually look like? Where is your heart leading you? And who else has their heart leading them in the same direction? And are you friends? Are you friends? And, you know, what are your ideals? What are your values that you share with the people that are close to you? And since this is also about groups as well, you know, are you a part of that group, you know, who's working towards what you're working towards? This could be a time to go back to a group that you haven't participated in for a while, and this could be a time where doing so is actually very fulfilling to you. If this Mercury retrograde is happening in your 12th house, then you are an angel. Like, if you have Leo in your 12th house, then, you know, that means that this lifetime for you is a lifetime of dismantling your ego and learning to be, you know, really selfless with your life. This could be a lifetime where you feel like yourself and who you are is something that you have to hide from others, or that your true self and your talents and gifts are sort of below the surface. What is going on deep within you about who you are, who your soul is? What are the hidden aspects of yourself that need to be recognized at this particular time? If you have Leo in the 12th house, you're probably not suffering from an overabundance of ego, okay? If you have Leo in the 12th house, you probably actually need to take more pride in who you are and actually recognize yourself for the amazing, talented being that you actually are, and to give yourself more credit. Think about what's really going on behind the scenes, okay? So there's a life that we show to the world, and then there's the life that we live when nobody's looking. And if you are having Mercury retrograde in your 12th house, it's about tending to that life that you live when nobody is looking. And the 12th house is the house of what is hidden, and it can be the house of even like hidden addictions. And if you are suffering from some sort of addiction that maybe comes, or just even bad habit, like something that you're undoing within yourself, then this is a time to think about why that is. Maybe you find yourself being like really addicted to sugar, for example, and maybe you need like cupcakes every single day or soda or whatever. But maybe the reason why is because you're not giving yourself enough love, right? Because you've hidden your own needs from everybody. Or you've isolated yourself. And so now is a time to think about what you might be doing to undermine your own success, and how you can actually address those things, and how you can, I think this is a time of going deep, 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 deep within in order to re-emerge, in a way that feeds your heart even more. The 12th house can be about retreats and retreating from the world. So if this Mercury retrograde is happening in your 12th house, this could be a time where the most important dialogue is your inner dialogue, is the dialogue that you're having with yourself or with the universe. This could actually be a really good time for a retreat of some kind, whether an actual retreat, like a meditation retreat, or whether you actually retreat just to yourself and spend a lot of time, alone at home, reflecting and reading and connecting with the other side. I think that the 12th house is the house in our chart that is about the moment right before birth, and also the time right before death, those times in our life that are not super active, right? Those times in our life that are about reflection. And so this could be a time where you might actually find yourself like thinking about your death, or you might find yourself more interested in what is invisible and what is hidden. And you may find yourself feeling closer to spirit or to loved ones who are on the other side, or things like that. You could also find yourself thinking about those aspects of society that are hidden. Asylums or prisons. Maybe you find yourself all of a sudden just being really focused on, or really curious about, monasteries, for example, or the lives of monks, or the lives of inmates or prisoners. And maybe you find within yourself that you are wanting to help in a creative way, that you're wanting to offer your gifts or your talents or your heart to those who are often ostracized in society, or those who are hidden in society, and that you want to offer your gifts to those people. Or you have a dream related to that. Maybe your heart is really pulling you to help the homeless, or to, maybe you're very talented with music or something, and your heart is pulling you to put on a concert and to donate the proceeds to prisoners of war, or some other group of people who are somehow ostracized from society, or who are not seen. Maybe you find yourself wanting to communicate or get the word out about some population of people whose needs are hidden in this world, or are not given enough light or attention. Now could be a really good time to really think about doing that. That really could be a part of your destiny. Take some time and go deep, deep, deep within, and really ask yourself if you might have buried your dreams, or even your healthy self-confidence, if you might have buried that somewhere deep inside of you, and if it might be time to bring that out and to realize that your talents. With Leo in the 12th house, it may be the case that other people are not like really giving you credit for your talents, because perhaps you've never let anybody see them and you've hidden them inside. Now might be the time, to bring them out. I think if, let's say that you have Leo in the 12th house, and you actually are like an amazing singer, or you're an amazing guitar player, but you literally never have ever played your guitar or sang or anything in front of anybody. Okay, now might be the time to actually like record a video of you doing your talent or something and put it on YouTube. Like if you've been telling yourself that you're not that gifted, or that you aren't special or things like that, then that's a lie. And now's the time to rethink that and realize, yes, of course you have talents, of course you have gifts, of course your heart is compelling you to offer something to the world. What is that thing that your heart is compelling you to do? And is it really necessary for you to hide that thing anymore? Thank you all so much for watching this video. I am wishing you all the most wonderful and most nourishing and clarifying Mercury retrograde imaginable, and I just wish that you can all really align with your soul's plan for this time, and that you can really tend to the house in which this Mercury retrograde is occurring and really just soak up the greatest potential of this experience. So many blessings to all of you during this Mercury retrograde. Thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please feel free to come back any Tuesday or Friday for more videos on the Maya's Dream channel. Thank you again, and namaste. Bye.